Steven, I think I know who's gonna win. Nikon. Jared Polin, Photos.com, and this is the ultimate autofocus battle between the flagship Canon R1 and Sony's flagship A1 II. So I took both of these flagship cameras into many situations. I did my best to take them out to events where I could do them sort of side by side, or more so in a football game. I would shoot one quarter with one quarter with the other, recording my electronic viewfinder so you could see exactly what the camera was seeing. My goal was to use very similar settings with very similar lighting situations, as well as using 400 2.8s, and I was able to do that in two situations. One was a Temple football game, and the other was a Philadelphia Union soccer match. But I also took both of these cameras out on their own to photograph even more stuff. We've got field hockey, women's soccer, as well as basketball. So I ran these cameras through their paces to get an understanding of how their autofocusing systems work, because both of these systems have the new AI processors. Canon calls theirs the Digic Accelerator, and Sony calls theirs the AI processor, or whatever they call it, and they both have these things that are recognizing movements in the body, and they can determine what's going to happen next. But what I will say is that Canon has what's called action priority and Sony doesn't. Now, does that make a big deal? Is that a big difference? Is that going to be the differentiator here in pointing out one being better than the other? We'll have to find out. But what I want to get into first is showing you a montage out at the Philadelphia Union game as well as Temple football, because that is where the best comparison happens side by side as best as possible. So I think it's pretty obvious which one's better, right? No, the answer to that is no. They are both extremely impressive. Canon with the action priority for soccer and for basketball is insane. You just saw it for soccer. And there were times that I've noticed this where there would be a ball that goes up in the air and someone would head it and it would head to another person and it tracked better than I could ever track. It knew exactly where the ball was going. That was insane. Now on the Sony front, you don't have the same action priority modes, but it did extremely well out there at football and did very well at soccer as well. I mean, there's times where it looks like you still have the two green bars that show up on the outside, which means that you are activating the tracking because it doesn't find the face or the eye or the head or the body as well, and you're telling it where to start, but not nearly as much as you used to do with the A1. It's leaps and bounds better now than it used to be. Let me jump in here real quick because I want to show you FLAGSHIP 4 in action on this photo right here, taken with a Canon, starting with Blue's Clues, followed by Brooklyn, C41, Copper Tone, High C, Kaleidoscope, Mel Brooks, Saltwater Taffy, Thick, Tintype, and Wet Hot American Summer. But check this out. My all-time favorite from FLAGSHIP 1 is Skittles. With one click of a button, we go boom. But check this out. Exclusive and all new to FLAGSHIP 4, we've got 4 custom adaptive Lightroom presets that include Face Enhance, Full Body Enhance, Eye Only Enhance, as well as Background Blur. So look, if you want to speed up your raw workflow, give yourself a great starting point, or you're just tired of other people's presets sucking, ours don't suck. We've created 14 all-new custom Lightroom presets that you can check out right now at froknowsphoto.com/FLAGSHIP 4. While you're over there, you can play with the sliders to see the befores and the afters, and if you decide to pick them up right now, they are currently on sale. Or if you want to get the Grand Slam bundle that includes FLAGSHIP 1, 2, 3, and 4, and of course Skittles, you will save even more. Now, let's get back to the video. So did I tweak the settings? Well, in the Canon R1, Canon has kind of gotten rid of most of the settings that you can tweak. And they are relying on the #1 case or whatever the top case is, and I really set it to that. I didn't tweak stay stuck on this subject longer or jump around this subject longer, and I did the same with the Sony. I let the Sony be basically where it was, and it did great. I think they both did fantastically well. Now, of course, it wasn't possible for me to shoot 2 things at the same exact time, but I think I did a great job giving you examples of showing you how these things work in the real world in those 2 situations, to do the best comparison as possible. But the second montage that we're gonna jump into is just random things that I photographed with the R1 and the A1 II, so that you can see how they worked in the real world situation. And when we come back from there, we're gonna talk about the still images and whether it hit or missed. once again, you can see how good the autofocus is in both of these cameras, and it's very difficult to differentiate it, but I will give you my opinion at the end of this on which one I think did better. Now, for anybody who might be wondering, where is the Nikon Z9 autofocus comparison between these? I didn't do that this time around. These two cameras are brand new, coming out at the exact same time, so that's why we're doing this battle between these two systems. But when you're shooting at 30 frames a second with the Sony and 40 frames a second with the Canon, are you nailing every single shot? And for the most part, there is not a time I can remember that wasn't user error where the entire sequence was ever out of focus. There was a time where I missed my focus totally and started shooting for some dumb reason, and that was my fault. But time and time again, when you review these images, you're not really missing. And even though I'm shooting 40 frames a second, you might see 2 or 3 shots in a row, which is a real small fraction of a second, where something might not be perfectly perfect. But remember, you're shooting 40 frames a second and 30 frames a second. So if 1 or 2 are not perfectly perfect, that's an insane hit rate. And no matter if a subject is running towards you, away from you, up in the air, or around, both of these autofocusing systems track extremely well. I will say that it does feel like at times that the Canon does a better job at least putting the box, the graphic that you see through the camera, on the eye at a distance. Like it knows I want to be on that subject who has the ball with the soccer ball, and it goes right to their eye. So is that just an overlay thing? Who knows? At the end of the day, both of these systems are insane. If you can't do a good job today with both of these cameras, I don't know if you can do a good job at all. Now, it's not end all be all when it comes to autofocus, but for this video, this is about the autofocus, the tracking, the subject recognition, and they did really well. Now, here's where I'm gonna give you my opinion on what I think, or which camera I think does a better job. I think they are very, very close together today. I will give the slightest of edges to the Canon R1 right now. The slightest of edges. I just feel that it recognizes slightly better the subjects at a distance, where it finds the face, it finds the eye, it finds the head, it recognizes that better. And the action priority puts it over the edge in those situations where action priority comes in handy. And in the future, Canon will probably put up some updates to add more ball sports for action priority. Will Sony come out with something like that in the future? Probably. They'll do the same thing as well. But I just feel because of that, the Canon is slightly better, slightly. A lot has changed from the time where Sony was leading the world in eye tracking and IAF and lock-on tracking. It's not like that anymore. Canon will put you right here. Sony, we're gonna put you right there. It is so evenly matched, it's not even funny. What do you think? Let me know down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say, but thank you very much for watching. Jared Polin, FronosPhoto.com. See ya.